It was the kind of mystery that quietly creeps into the cracks of a small town, a single vanishing act on a rain-slicked street, echoing through decades like a question that never got its answer. In 1983, in the sleepy town of Elmeridge, a young woman disappeared during her nightly walk. No scream, no witness, just silence. And for 32 years, that silence reigned, until the past came knocking. Her name was Lila Carter, 23, a schoolteacher known for her kindness, her quiet demeanor, and her routine. Every night, like clockwork, she walked the half-mile loop around her neighborhood, usually returning home by 9 p.m. But on October 18, 1983, she never made it back. Her shoes were later found on the sidewalk, neatly placed side by side, just a block from her home. No signs of struggle, no blood, just the shoes, and the beginning of a long, cold silence. For weeks, Elmeridge searched. Volunteers combed the nearby woods. Drones hadn't yet become tools of the search, but people used dogs, flashlights, hope. The police knocked on every door within a 5-mile radius. They interrogated boyfriends, co-workers, strangers. But there was no sign of Lila. Her apartment was untouched, her purse still on the kitchen counter, a half-read book on her nightstand, her calendar marked with an X on the 18th, as if she herself knew something would end that day. Suspicion fell quickly on her ex-boyfriend, a local mechanic named Vince Halder, who had been seen arguing with Lila days before, on the town's mailman, who had a reputation for lurking too long at certain homes, even on Lila's landlord, an elderly woman who claimed she saw a shadow pass her window that night. But without evidence, without a body, the investigation stalled. The town moved on. But for Lila's parents, time froze. Time does strange things to memory. 10 years passed, then 15. New families moved into Elmeridge. Lila's name was spoken only in whispers, or not at all. Her case sat buried beneath layers of newer files. Detectives retired, evidence degraded. Her parents died within months of each other in 2002, still clutching the hope that they would one day learn what happened to their daughter. But the truth remained buried. Then, in the summer of 2015, something surfaced. A woman named Claire Morrell was clearing out her late father's house when she found an old cedar chest in the attic. Inside, among old journals and coins, was a cassette tape labeled October 18, 1983. Curious, she dusted off her father's tape player and pressed play. What she heard changed everything. Muffled footsteps, a woman's voice, a cry, then silence, and finally, a man whispering a name. Lila. The tape was sent to the police. Detectives reopened the case, now deemed a potential homicide. Claire's father, Richard Morrell, had passed 6 months earlier from a stroke. He had been a solitary man, a retired sound engineer who once worked for the local radio station. His name had never come up in the original investigation, but the tape suggested he had either witnessed something or recorded something no one was meant to hear. Audio technicians analyzed the tape. Background noise placed it in a wooded area. The cry, determined to be Lila's voice, was isolated and compared to archival interviews. A match. The whispering man had a slight stammer and used a phrase common in 1980s, Elmridge slang, "Hold fast, Lila." That phrase led them to a long-forgotten name, Peter Finn. A former DJ once fired from the radio station for erratic behavior and substance abuse. He had vanished from town a month after Lila did. Finn had resurfaced in Colorado under a different name. Married, children, clean record. But when investigators posed as journalists and interviewed him for a podcast about vanished voices, he grew visibly agitated at the mention of Elmridge. And when they played a portion of the tape, his hand trembled. He said, "That night should have stayed buried. That was enough. A warrant was secured. DNA was taken. And buried with it, a dark truth." The tip led them to a private patch of woods once owned by Finn's uncle. Ground-penetrating radar revealed a shallow depression beneath a thicket of pine. Beneath it, the remains of a young woman wrapped in canvas. Dental records confirmed it, Lila Carter. Alongside her were items, a brooch, a handwritten poem, and a broken cassette recorder. Evidence of a life cut short and perhaps a struggle to record her last moments. The trial captivated the town. Elmridge, now modernized with coffee shops and yoga studios, sat in stunned silence as their forgotten past unfolded. Finn's defense claimed diminished capacity, that he was high and thought he was recording a horror story for a radio contest. But the jury didn't buy it. The tape, the remains, the brooch, each one whispered Lila's name. On June 7, 2018, Finn was sentenced to life in prison. No parole. No more hiding behind static. In the years that followed, Lila's story became something more than a cold case. It became a lesson in persistence, a reminder that the past never really disappears, that one voice, one moment, one whisper can echo long enough to crack even the deepest silence. And for Elmridge, justice came not with fury, but with the quiet truth of a voice long gone, finally heard.